Croeso, and welcome to another episode of Esports Wales Weekly, your one-stop shop for everything esports within Wales. As always, I am joined by the ineffable, whatever the saying is, Gizmo. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, because I have no idea what you just insulted me with, to be honest. But yeah, feeling good.
Well,
Feeling
I'm
good.
not sure. One of them I think is an insult, and I think the other one is a compliment, but I'm not sure which way round it is. So I thought I'd just cover all bases, and you could take it both as an insult and as a compliment.
Yeah,
But someone
yep,
that
I
we
will.
can't insult and that we can only compliment because they are an excellent human being who we were lucky enough to meet through Esports Wales is the radiant, the resplendent, the remarkable Roxy. How you doing, Roxy?
I am great. I mean, after all those compliments, who wouldn't feel great?
I mean, I got to lean into the alliteration. The thing is, the only G words for giz are like git, and I saw yes, your struggles. I could use great, but I refuse to. How are you, Rox? It's been a little while since we've caught up. Please tell us a little about yourself. Introduce yourself for the guests and the people watching at home.
Yeah, so I'm Roxy Bain. I go by Roxy. My pronouns are she, her, and I am Esports Wales Women's Ambassador. What that means is I try to get all the fantastic women that we've got that game in Wales to get involved in the esports community.
Fantastic, and a wonderful job you've done, because I've met a number of members of our community who are just phenomenal people. I think we are building a strong community here, and hopefully we can continue to build on it and just make things better and more inclusive and welcoming for everybody. And we'll get on to those subjects later on the show. But first, we have to do a rundown of our usual. Well, I say our usual. We've been out of practice for a couple of weeks. Let me bring up my list of all of the wonderful things that have been going on.
You had so many weeks to prep, and you still haven't got it all up.
I've got it there. I've got it on the other monitor. I just can't
still.
read. Do you want to take us away, Giz?
I mean, I can do. Well, we've had. Well, I mean, I say this week we did have the Good Games meetup that they did. I think that was when Wales were playing England. I want to say.
It was. I was unfortunately working that day, so I couldn't get along to the meetup. But,
19th of March. That was. I think that was pretty good. I think a few people went there. I was unable to go as well because I was at the pub. But yeah, I think it was a great meetup. I'm a rugby fan.
Let's not talk about this week's rugby.
No. We talked about it enough.
Whoever's editing this video, any mention of it, just snip that out, just cut it out, right? We won't talk about it.
Yep.
So we had the Good Game Cafe meetup, which was lovely on the 19th. Welsh Masters sign up is underway. I believe there is still some time, depending on when this video goes out, to sign up, and I encourage everyone to do that. I believe that we have a graphic somewhere as I pixelate myself. There it is underneath me, Welsh Masters 2020 on screen. Well done. We also had the Apex Community Cup, which was last week, well, from the time of recording this show, won by Katana Gaming, I believe. Katana Gaming. Yes. More graphics. More graphics. Here we go. With the kill leader going to KTN Reaper. Well done, reaping souls in Apex Legends. I am terrible at Apex. I'm so bad at it. Like, I'm awful.
I gotta be fair. The guy that came second is the team's called not Apex players. Like,
not Apex players. Fantastic. We'll get on to that a little bit later on about what our strengths and weaknesses are for video gaming. We also have Valence League, new lineup for the Valorant Team TAM, which is great. And then some League of Legends stuff, which I suppose. Oh no, we should go through the roster. We've got a graphics for the roster. Well done, Graphics Goblin. Well done. It's back again. So this is the new Team TAN lineup for the Valorant, which is fantastic. I will butcher the pronunciation of all of those names, but look at these wonderful human beings, and look at the awesome Team Tan shirt. Look at that. I'm going to get me one of those. Just wonderful colours.
You should. You know, I think it would, you know, match your ginger hair. You know, just really bring it out.
Rox, you're going to let him speak to me like that? Come on now. As a fellow ginge, we've got to stick together.
I know, I was like, oh, my hair looks particularly ginger in this light. Maybe I should, play with my camera.
I'm just going to say that it's... So I talk about this every now and then, like when I'm streaming, but like my camera does hideous things with the colours because I can't be asked to go through the settings. But if I like stretch or anything like that, the auto balance for the white shines up because my skin is so pale. So that's what I blame my red hair on the camera, is just the colour balance. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. We've also got some LOL news. Why don't you go through that, Giz? Because I don't know anything about LOL.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I think Team Tan are through to playoffs now, so that I think this game Thursday is going to be their... If they win this, they're through to the finals. So this is like a big decider game. They are already in like the losers bracket, so they only get one game series before, you know, they lose this one, they're out. So hopefully they win it. And they should go through to the final then, which would be really good to see. Obviously, last year they did get to the final as well and lost. So this time I think they've improved quite a lot. But I actually wasn't able to watch their game against Astronauts, but I did see that one against Tridents, and it was very dominant. So, yeah,
I believe they're 2-0 both teams, right?
Yeah, I think they did. Yep, they did. We have the scores written down. Yeah, I am blind. Yep, they 2-0'd them both. And I know against Trident it was like a 20-minute win, which is pretty fast in League. So, yeah, I mean, very well done by them. Hopefully this time, if they do get through the finals, they can win and get, I think, to Division 1. I think they're currently in Division 2, which is like, you know, it's competitive, but Division 1 is, you know, where you want to be. So I think they have a good chance, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, if they need like a sub, I'm sure that like, you know, I can step in and just, you know, do the thing. I click the buttons. That's how MOBAs work, right? I click the buttons and things happen.
As long as we don't have to click buttons, you know, just right click.
Buttons. Fantastic. Yeah. That sounds like the game for me.
I just want to quickly circle back to the Welsh Masters, because we didn't actually cover what games it talks about, because obviously we didn't really explain it. We just said about it, right? So obviously it's building teams in certain games to compete in. I think it's more than just Wales, right? But yeah, it's a competitive scene, so they got different games. I think Dota 2, Tekken 7. I think RL is Rocket League. I'm gonna have to assume, because
Rocket League. I believe there's one of the football games. Is it PES?
I think it's eFootball. eFootball. I'd assume FIFA is the more competitive.
I think it's PES.
Yeah.
I think I might be wrong. Oh, it's on screen. Yes, well done, Graphics Goblin. Production Keon has sorted it out for us. Well done. And obviously CSGO. I'm more excited about Dota 2 because that's like my sort of esports background, in that was the only one I ever played. So, I was terrible at it, but I know a bit more about it.
Where's the League of Legends one? That's all I want to know. Where? I mean, it got so many Welsh players that play League of Legends. We got Dota.
Better game.
Right, copies games and does them better. We all know this, okay? Yeah. Just look at Valorant. Yeah. The Valorant.
Yeah, there's more money in Dota though, and that's the key to esports is funding. There is actually a really exciting movement within Dota 2 community at the moment in the UK with the Dota Valkyries and the British Esports Association. So maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But that is like a genuinely interesting thing that's going on at the moment. That is a pleasure to see. I believe there's also a new team lineup in Valorant for Team Yar. So we've got Team Tan and Team Yar. I don't know if yes, we do. Oh, more fantastic shirts. I just love all the Esports Wales shirts. Which is your favourite, Rox? Do you prefer the Yar or the Tan shirts?
I love blue, so I think Yar.
Yeah, and I've seen these shirts, like these ones IRL. Like the blue is really nice. There's a really nice shade of blue on it. They both look great, but I think I might pick up one of these.
I think Fear Factor, the fire,
Oh, yeah.
because, but I am a fan of blue, so
See, I'd
Well,
have to
there
go
we go.
tan just because it like I would get something down that white in like 5 seconds. I know it, and it would just be stained forever. I cannot trust myself at all. I
So it's like, an aesthetic thing. Me and Roxy like, oh, I like the color schemes on it. And you were like, I'm quite clumsy. That's where you. That was the reasoning behind it.
I
Cool.
spilled a
Fine.
drink all over me during a cast the other day. Like, how ridiculous! Like,
Before this show started, they'll edit it out, chat. You won't see it, but before this show started, he nearly spat his drink all over his computer. Me and Roxy saw it. We saw
we
it.
did.
Production peon saw it. The editor will see it. You guys won't see it. They'll cut that out.
yeah,
But he's a clumsy fool. Is what we're getting at. But yeah, comment below with which shirt you prefer, Yar or Tan. My vote is with Yar. We've
because you
also
can't get a tan.
Sick burn, sunburn.
Sorry, Ginger.
There's also there's no window in this room. There's no natural light at all. I'll change the warmth of my lights. That's all I do. We've also got some news from the uni and college esports with GCS Owls. I can get that out. Gower College Swansea Owls picking up another sweep of just amazing victories. I believe that the Rocket League Team 1 is still undefeated, just like immensely undefeated. And I think Overwatch Team 1 is still undefeated as well. But just, through the British Esports Student Champs, they have been absolutely storming it. And it's a pleasure to see. Long may it continue. I suspect we'll be talking about them getting through to the finals at some point. Because it's hard to see another team dethroning them at the moment. So wonderful to see some epic wins from a Welsh college. And my former alum, as I went to Swansea, so there you go. Not Cardiff like you, Giz.
Yeah, well, Cardiff's better, but whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, okay, cool.
It's fine. It's fine.
So we had all of those victories. I don't think there was any other updates unless anything's happened between now and when we tried to record this show last week. No,
I can't think of anything. No,
fantastic. I'm sure someone will be like, "You missed the F1." There must have been some F1 results. I did see some controversy within the F1 league for Wales because we've got a father and son combo that race for us, the Masons, and I believe father was rammed off the track by an untoward undertake or overtake on one of the races, and it caused a bit of a stir on Twitter. And I did see some footage of it, and it was egregious. It was Verstappen levels of egregious. So there'll be news about that soon. Maybe we'll get him on the show for an interview, an expose on the dirty tactics used within F1 esports.
It's fun. If you're dirty enough, the FI just give you the win anyway. So
yeah, that appears to be. Should have been Hamilton's 8th. Enough of that. The meat of this week's subject and the reason that we've asked the wonderful Roxy to join us specifically for this episode, because we would like to talk about women and basically within esports and streaming and gaming and within the community. And as the ambassador, we have no better person that we can speak to about this. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us, Rox. I should say the first time we met was at a Esports Wales meetup just before Christmas, in which I'll just say it now so that they don't say it, but in which we played a number of like board games and like word association games and things, and I got absolutely destroyed. I lost every single one of them. I think Roxy won one and Giz won one. Basically, everyone was winning except me. So what you need to take from that chat is that I'm the thickest person in the room. Don't take any of my opinions as the right one. But yeah, thank you for joining us, Rox. If you could kick off, just tell us a little bit about how you got into the role within Esports Wales. That'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me. Obviously, this is such an important issue to talk about. So how I got involved was I joined the Discord. I'd been in the Discord for ages, but I just never felt comfortable enough to really speak. And I noticed that it was very kind of male heavy, which isn't like, I don't know, sometimes as a woman going into those spaces and everyone seemed to know each other. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to watch from afar and see if there's anything I can get involved in. And I actually then went on and I was like, oh, I haven't even assigned myself roles. Let's assign myself roles at least. So it looks like I'm somewhat active. So I gave myself roles and obviously the pronouns. And then I got a message saying, hey, we've got the women's only chat. Would you like to join that? And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. And then through there wasn't very, like, it was quite quiet, which is something I definitely want to build up, is that space for women on the server. But yeah, and then John had just kind of said, does anyone want to, is anyone interested in being the women's ambassador? And it's something that I feel really strongly about is, that women, if you look at the gaming industry, like women play games on an equal level to men now, which is something a lot of people don't quite realise, is that the market is split pretty evenly in terms of who's playing games. But then if you actually look at the esports and who is playing esports, there's just a massive difference. So it's something that I feel really passionate about, is kind of empowering women and letting women know that there is a space for them.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just an important cause; it's vital. Like inclusivity and inclusion within communities is it's the life and soul of it. Like without it, what's the point? Like it's not a community if we're only representing one vertical slice of the populace. And as you say, it's always been, and it really has always been that sort of split where everyone has gamed, but only certain people game competitively. Now, I've had people try and sort of explain it away to me with different things. Sorry, with different things like well, it's the type of games that make up esports, and not the type of games that people, the women or marginalized groups play. And that doesn't track anymore. Maybe like 20 years ago there was a thing, like there was a cultural thing that sort of split it, but it just doesn't track anymore. The number of people, the number of females that play, Siege and Dota and LOL and Rocket League and all the other, CS:GO, the major, the games we think of when people say esports. So there is a disproportion there, or there is a divide there between those that play and those that play for money, and that is sort of the defining factor. Do you think that's systemic in the culture, or what are your thoughts on that? Like, what's been your experience, really?
I think gaming culture has always been male dominated and male heavy. If I look at the games that I was not like, I don't think my parents, if I wanted to play the games my brothers were playing, I don't think they would have stopped me. But it was always like, oh, here's Sims and here's Nintendogs and here's all these cute girly games to
Here's Animal
play.
Crossing, and
Yeah, stuff like
here's the
that.
Pokemons, and
Yeah, like stuff like that. Whereas my brothers, and like particularly in the past, during the pandemic, is when I've really got into what I mean. Before technically I was a gamer, I was spending hours and hours and hours on Sims because I didn't know that I liked other games. Whereas it's only in the past few years that I've started playing games. I'm like, oh, I like this kind of shooter, and I really like this type of game. And I speak to my brothers, and they're like, yeah, I played that when I was 7. And it's just so systemic. And you look at, even if you look at within video games, I would say actually the games in esports are maybe a bit more balanced, just because with, I mean, I can't say I know anything about League, but Dota, obviously you've got an array of heroes to choose from. But if you look at, games growing up where esports wasn't a thing, it was always kind of men fighting. And there were a few games where there were women, but they were always in like barely any clothes and stuff like that.
The classic female fantasy armor. You're like, oh, not
Yes.
again. Why again?
And I just think it's always been such a male-dominated
So
industry.
do you think that's like tied into that is the marketing from the games companies themselves? Do you think that has a role in it? Because it has to start somewhere. You talk about the chicken and the egg type of thing, and I think like a lot of those games were never marketed towards anyone other than young men. Like that was the target audience for those games, and if that's what you're targeting, and then that's the group that ends up going like it tracks through to me. So I think marketing does have a big role in it. I think more and more now companies are realizing that it's unacceptable to leave people out, but B, why would they? Like, why would you half your market when you can sell a product, which is what a game is essentially? When you can sell a product to more people, why wouldn't you? So hopefully we'll see a change. I feel that we've seen a change, but then that's only from my side of things. Do you think you've seen any sort of improvement or uptick in games sort of being more inclusive in the marketing?
Yeah, definitely. I would say I know like esports is gaming, but I see the marketing for gaming has become a lot more inclusive. I don't feel like that's been reflected at a wider level for esports. I think locally, local esports is getting more kind of in touch with the fact that women play games, um, and that actually I say this, we can be good at them. I'm awful, but um,
Well, we were joking about this before the show. Like, so am I. Like, that gender has nothing to do with it. I am terrible at video games. I enjoy them, but then I often make a fool of myself in them. Like, I'm terrible. But I don't receive the same backlash. I don't. Someone just calls me an idiot and they move on. Whereas you would receive backlash for being exactly the same level of play as me. People would have a go at you, and that's where we can't blame marketing for that. That's a cultural thing within gaming that needs to be addressed and needs to be uh, highlighted and stopped. Essentially, we need education in order to challenge that. Have you? I mean, this is kind of a. I know the answer to this question before I ask it, but have you experienced any sort of pushback or discrimination or anything simply for being a woman in the gaming space?
oh yeah, I mean, it's like there's so many examples that come to mind. So, like, I will not have my microphone on online games. Like, obviously, if it's my friends, then that's fine. But like, if I'm playing with randos, I will not speak on the microphone. There have been times I've used alt accounts because some people have like put two and two together with my gamer tag that Roxy is a feminine name. So even if I haven't spoke, I'll get, if I do something that someone's not happy with, like in Overwatch, if I don't know, the kind of things that happen in games that get people mad. And I just get so much abuse. I've had it on Twitch where I've been playing a game and all of a sudden people come in chat and be like, oh, you're rubbish, like, you're not doing it right. And then I'll go and watch someone else, like a guy who's maybe worse than me. And everyone's like, oh, good try, that was all right. Yeah, whereas, I play games and people will actively say in chat, like, you are rubbish. And it's not like I've said, there's some games where I'm like, I'm awful at this. And my chat's like, yeah, you are. There's like other games where I'll just be playing them.
There's
No, but
nothing like a mod in your own stream to like, you
yeah.
suck at this. You're like, oh,
But the thing is, if I
yeah.
admit it, that's fine. But there's been games where I've streamed Overwatch and I've been like actually trying to be decent. And then some randomer will just come in and say, you suck. And like, but then it's not just like random hate. They'll then go into my gameplay and, well, you should have done this. You should have done that. And from what I've seen of any guys that I've watched, I've not really seen that level of critique.
No,
It's the next step of like backseat gaming, right? It's like
yeah,
a step above
it's backseat mansplaining, isn't it? It's that, you know, and I know that's a phrase that a lot of people don't like or have you, but I think it does sum up the attitude. You know, whether I don't use it as a derogatory term, I use it like people know what I mean when I say it. You know what I mean? Like it's that specific type of backseating, that specific type of never you mind, I'll explain it to you because of my big brain. Like, and it's just get a grip. Like, you know, we're all human beings just trying to survive. Just treat each other with some respect. And that is very much a cultural thing that's going on. It's just one of those things that we need to address, and I would encourage anyone to call that out. I gotta say, from my point of view, because I'm friends with a number of female streamers, and we were talking about live streams then, and that's why it sort of come to my mind. You know, we have a number of female streamers on the stream team in Esports Wales, which is wonderful. In particular, Peachy and Flynn, who I know on a personal level. I interact with them outside of the gaming space. And the strength of their communities is very good. Like the people around them are very supportive and will call out any type of nonsense that gets seen. But you shouldn't have to have a group of people around you to help you. The You shouldn't need the help is the issue. You know, nobody should be coming in to have a go at someone and exacerbate a situation based on nothing more than, you know, how they choose to identify, their gender, their sex, however they present themselves, whatever their pronouns are. That shouldn't have anything to do with, well, you clicked the wrong button and now I'm going to make you miserable about it. You know,
That's the thing. I like, yeah, with when I talk to my friends who also stream, and I don't know any of my like women friends that will go live without having a mod, like confirmed that they have a mod ready in chat. And I myself, I will not go live unless I know that that I can have someone who's going to commit to a couple of hours to mod for me, because I expect abuse. And I think for women, it's not kind of if, it's when, which is just shocking. Whereas then I've spoke to my friends that are guys who stream, and they're like, they have like no mods and they're just vibing. They're like, oh, I don't have to think about anything. Whereas for me, it's always, okay, you know, what do I say to this? And I have answers prepared for comments that might come up.
and it's not right that you have to do that. It's not right that anyone has to do that. Like, you shouldn't have to have like a list of, I'm going to use this term loosely, but, you know, a list of comebacks to, like, you know, things that you expect someone to come in and say to you, and then that's how you're going to shut down the conversation or, you know, turn it around. Why is anyone targeting anyone like that? And
it's just like the next level of abuse, right? It's them like trying to find someone to have a go at. It's like back in the day, like the Call of Duty lobbies, you know, like they would be there, but now they're like searching out for people just to have a go at, and it's, you know, for no reason really.
I mean, you're the ambassador within Esports Wales, and obviously we want to encourage as many people to join as we can. Do you think there's anything that we could do as a community or as individuals, as members of staff? What can we do to improve the situation? Have you got any ideas? Because I'm sure you've thought long and hard about what we can do, and I'm thick, so please explain to me.
I think, and this is gonna, when I say it, it's gonna sound like, well, yeah, but it is just that outreach to women, and actually by having more women at the forefront and having more women kind of as the face of the brand, is kind of, it's like a twofold process. That actually, if you have women, like opportunities like this, giving women the space to talk and share their experiences, one, it shows other women, okay, there are women there, so I'm not alone. But it also then educates non-women that this is our experience. I think one thing that you have been, like Esports Wales, I've noticed, has been really good at is calling out that toxic behaviour. I think it can be, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for everyone involved when it happens. But it's far more uncomfortable for me having to hear that than it is for you having to call it out. And I think that, from what I've seen, the staff members for Esports Wales have been really good at calling that out, even if it's meant that people leave the community. And we were saying before this that actually we want a community where everyone can feel welcome. So even if that does mean, we have to get rid of someone who is the best esports player in the world because they're using derogatory language and because they're making others feel uncomfortable, actually it's about fostering the whole community. And if we allow that one toxic person to stay, then actually you're not going to foster the talent, that untapped talent, and you're not going to get people, women and people from marginalised genders, because they're just not going to feel comfortable. But yeah, obviously the solution to that is a lot harder than I make it sound. But I think, just giving that space is important.
Absolutely, yeah. There's never going to be like a flick a switch and now we fixed it. Like that's just not how life works for anything, particularly as something as sort of ingrained and as complicated as, I mean, I'm no expert at all, but when you start talking about sex and gender and racial identity and pronouns and the people are complicated. People are complicated. And you are right. You can't just allow it to go ahead. But we sort of briefly touched on it before the show. But if I, as a, and I've no problem in review, as a straight white British man who speaks English and a little bit of Welsh, I have limited problems. Like like my problems are not like. I have a fairly easy run of things. Yes, I have difficulties in my life as everyone else does. But if I'm noticing bad, like toxic behavior, how must the other people feel? Like if it's that apparent to me, who essentially is oblivious to everything, then something has to be done. And if that means a person leaves the community, then they leave the community. I would always foster education and reform over exile. Like, but that's not just within like this topic. That's my approach to life. Like if I can change someone's mind and make them a better person, I'm willing to forgive and we move on and we all be better people together. But if
exactly,
you're not
that's why.
sorry.
That's why opportunities like this are so important. That actually, it shows that I think sometimes, especially when we're using Discord as as the platform really for Esports Wales, it can be really hard to recognise that there are women or that there are people like you. So that's why actually opportunities like this, and by really fostering the women in our community and supporting them to feel included and to say, actually, I can play this, I'm going to try out for this team and stuff like that, actually just sends a really positive message that we do have women in this community and we're going to respect, well, not just women, just everyone.
Representation. It's all about representation. Because if you see someone who you relate to, who you feel represents you, the root of representation, then you feel more comfortable because it's a connection. It's an instant connection with someone. You're like, oh, this person has shared experiences and shared viewpoints similar to my own. And you just feel more comfortable. That's just the way it is. The fact of the matter is, I walk into most rooms and I feel that way, but we need to foster that for everybody. So I mean, as you say, having platforms like this where we can have women on, and people from marginalized groups and talk to them, people with disabilities, people with any kind of experience that needs to be shared. A platform like this is important. So hopefully we can continue going forward to do that. We
I would like to
touched.
say,
Yeah,
sorry,
sorry.
I would like to say that the mods in our Discord do a very good job of reacting really fast to anything like that as well. I mean, they are on it. Like, there's always someone ready to go, and if anyone in our community is feeling anything like that, just feel free to contact the mod at any point. Or anyone really. I mean, anyone in the management team will just act swiftly and try and help you as much as possible.
It is a very active community, which is good to see. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of if you've had any sort of standout moments that have shaped the way that you look at esports. Is there any like, oh, I want to do the ambassadorship because this one specific is there any moment that sticks out, or is it just a sort of a culmination of all of your experiences?
I think it's a combination of my experience, but so I did a little bit kind of in uni, and then when I left uni, I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to continue in esports. I'm an adult now. That's not a thing for adults. That's kind of like it's kind
Uh,
of how it felt. Like there was nothing, no
I
community
would have
out
felt
there.
I've just left uni. I'm an old man compared to you youngsters. Kids haven't even technically left uni yet. He's still there.
Cling on to it while you can. No, but that's what it kind of
Um,
felt like. I didn't know. I was like, oh, actually, I'm really enjoying because I only got into Overwatch during university, and I was playing on like my dusty old laptop, and then I started working, and I was like, oh, I can actually afford like a decent PC now, and I can play. And I was like, oh, but I don't really know where to go from this. Like, if I want to take it further, um, and I think for me, then someone had mentioned esports, and I was like, oh no, one, it's all guys. Two, it's only big money. Like, I'm not going to play esports. I'm awful at games. And then I remember someone explaining it to me to think of like particularly local stuff. Obviously, you're going to have teams that are amazing, and we do have teams that are amazing in Wales. But I am really passionate about those like little teams where it's just five friends, and they're like, actually, I want to give this a go. I'm going to try out this competition. Like when if you when you were younger, you used to go to like football competitions and stuff, and your team was awful, but your parents were like so proud of you because you actually kicked the ball that day. And that's what I love, and especially with communities like Esports Wales, the fact that you have kind of all these different events that people can just show up and try out.
yeah, the community cups and the invitationals and things they do, the open teams or the open invitations teams is wonderful. I mean, that's the bread and butter of as you say, the local because it's it's over the internet, but you know what I mean. A tight knit community of gaming, be not that same level as the international daughter in the international daughter international or the major or what's the LOL one called, Worlds, something like that.
Worlds, yeah, just World Championships. It's simple.
Worlds.
Yeah.
It's there's a whole rich, they said it's not just Premier League football that's being played. It's Sunday, the five-a-side teams and all the rest of it. It's not just, the Six Nations rugby tournament. Cut out any mention of Italy. Cut it all out. Don't put any of that in. Edit it out. Why are you wearing blue, Giz?
I knew it was going to go there as well. Just realized like straight away. It's because blue hides stains as well, so
But speaking of
It's a
the
cool-
international, yeah, blue lights is just spilling drinks everywhere. Speaking of the international and the Dota 2, we would be remiss to have an episode about women in gaming and esports and not talk about the Dota Valkyries project, which has been just absolutely on fire recently. It's just been so good. Do you follow Dota at all, Roxy, or is it not one of your games?
I make an active, conscious decision not to because my partner's like obsessed. I think my partner's actually playing it right now, and they because it came up on Steam. Yeah, and they go to the internationals and stuff, and they try and talk to me about how cool it is. But I know obviously a little bit about what they're doing with it's women's league, isn't it? Essentially, is
Yes,
that what?
yes.
Yeah.
Essentially a women's league for within the Dota 2 space. Dota Valkyrie sort of heading it up. A number of prominent female Dota players and staff members as part of an umbrella group underneath the British Esports Association, which is the Women in Esports. Women in Esports is the official title, which is this umbrella or a part of the umbrella group of British Esports Association. And it's just a really positive way of sort of being, as we talked about earlier on, of having that representation, of having a female league. Now, this is a topic that we do need to talk about. Some people have very strong feelings about female leagues or having any kind of restrictive league. Now, I'm going to prefix this before I ask the question because I need people to understand this. There is no men's league. There isn't a men's league. There's just the league that anyone can play in, right? There's no restriction, but that does not mean that women are able to play in it because they don't have the representation, they haven't got the backing, they haven't got the background, they haven't got the support structure in place. There are not enough people willing to give them a chance, right? So although there's no official restriction, you'll notice it across not just esports, but all sports, that you have this divide, and you'll have a women's league, and it is a space where women can feel comfortable and play. I personally am in favour of them. I think they're a good idea. But, as I said earlier on the show, I'm a man and I'm an idiot. So I need you to... What do you think of women's leagues?
I think I wish they weren't necessary. You know, obviously the end goal is that they become irrelevant, and that no, I thought I pulled out my microphone. The end, because I'm so passionate about this, is the end goal. Obviously, is that they become irrelevant. We want it that women are able to access these spaces, but the truth is that's not happening. Women don't have access to these opportunities. They don't have access to the spaces. They don't have, because it's a privilege, the access to this. We don't have it. So actually having our own league, one, it allows not even younger, just, women who maybe aren't as experienced to see, oh, there is a place for me and I can strive for that. And then it allows those women that are at that level to say, actually, no, I can strive for the team. So hopefully it has that knock-on effect that actually by platforming women, we can say, oh, we are on the same level. We should be in these competitions. We should be in the open. Let's call it the open because it should be open to anyone.
Yeah.
That actually they should be able to be in those. So I think that it's really important. I also think it becomes controversial because it's new. Like, there's so many different things where we've had women's only events for years and years and years. And, there's always been women's only spaces and then the open space for all. And it's not been questioned. But now, because it's new and because gender is trendy and gender is, for some people, it's a topic that they want to jump on because they maybe don't agree or, they see it as controversial. That's why now, when you suddenly introduce a women's league, people get offended. But in the past, it always happened that we've had women's only spaces because of things like the fact that women don't have equal access to opportunities.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't question it in traditional sports, the in-person physical ball and pitch sports. The people, when you say traditional sports, the ones I mean: football, rugby, tennis, all this type of things. Nobody questions that because I feel it's established. It's one of those things because there is that divide between esports and real sports. I don't know how else to describe them other
Not
than
real sports.
well, other than
How dare you?
traditional
I'm an
sports, but
athlete.
yeah.
Outside sports.
Yeah, the outside sports, but the Olympics, the Commonwealth, those type of they've always had them. I think the main difference, the main divide is that with esports, it could truly be inclusive. It could truly be inclusive. There is no reason. There is no physical restriction. I don't want to see intergender boxing. I don't think that's a good for anyone. You know what I mean? You need a women's league so that they can feel represented and they can take part. That's the point of it, so that they have a space where they can compete and enjoy themselves and feel included. We shouldn't need it in esports. As you said, the end goal is to get rid of those spaces, but to get rid of them because the space is inclusive for everyone. And that's what we need to strive towards. So when people say, oh, it's arbitrary to have this split, maybe it is on paper, but in reality, entirely necessary, as far as I'm concerned. And the more we see, the more exposure we see, the better.
I think it's a good idea that they've started from this top because realistically, in my experience playing in amateur tournaments that the main problems tend to happen at the amateur level, is where like people get put off a lot. And to see like the higher tournaments saying, look, we want this divide to make it equality, it means that more amateur tournaments will offer this other league to allow people to feel safer, which then will allow more developing talent. So one day they will be able to mix leagues. I know Newell has done a great thing with this, making a women's league and non-binary league. I know Game for Belong has done it as well, and those leagues are like in the right standing, because those are the amateur leagues that a lot of people just trying to get into sports use anyway. But the toxicity that happened in those leagues, behind curtains and all the rest of it, was terrible to all people. But that there was some things that people just would not let go, and I'm happy to see that if we do start at the top, it will funnel down to these amateur tournaments eventually, and then we'll get more people coming into esports.
Absolutely.
I don't disagree with that at all. As I say, you've got to make change at the top end of things in order for it to, because as you said, right? I mean, you literally said it earlier on when we were talking about like, oh well, I'm not interested. Like, I'll never be able to play the big money games because that's what you see. You see the biggest tournaments. So if we haven't got representation at those biggest levels, how is that ever going to affect change further down the line? So having these big initiatives take off as they have and get the coverage that they have been, and the backing and the support of established organizations, is key really to the future. Not that I want to move on from the topic, and if you have anything else to add, then by all means. But I did want to ask, really, sort of towards the end of the question there. Sorry, I'm dying of a cold at the moment. I feel awful. I'm sort of trying to keep it together here. But do you have any specific advice or tips or tricks or anything for women looking to join esports, either Esports Wales or leagues, or you've probably got a wealth of resources where people can look to, and if you could share those with us, I would be eternally grateful to you.
Yeah, so I think like just putting yourself out there and joining communities, and I particularly Discords. So I'm in a few that are women only. I'm in the Women in Esports server, and that's pretty good because the women are super supportive. That then if you do have a problem in a different server, they usually just like listen to you run and stuff, which is quite nice. But I think also it's one thing that I've been really grateful with Esports Wales is that the staff have all been really receptive, and they've really wanted to make a change and they want to be inclusive. And I think, it takes time, and you will find communities that are awful. Like, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but you will find communities that aren't inclusive, and you'll think this is pointless. I don't want to be involved, and just remove yourself from those. But then when you do find a community, get involved, and if you don't feel like you're being represented, speak to someone that's like one of the managers, leaders, and say, because I wouldn't be here if Esports Wales didn't see the importance of having a women's ambassador. And I think it's something that, other women can step up and be like, actually, yeah, I want to make it known that we're here.
Absolutely. I mean, my advice to people would be join our community, join Esports Wales community, join our Discord. Someone plug it, someone put it somewhere, put it in a link somewhere. One of the production crew, a smarter man than me, put the link. Join our Discord, get involved. You have got people like Roxy and Peachy and Flynn and a host of other people that you can talk to and be a part of the community. Talk to us. I'm more than happy to listen to anyone. I want to have more people on the show. Not just women, but like anyone from a marginalized group. I'd love to have anyone who's got sort of gaming or streaming or esports experience to come on so that we can chat. And as I say, have that representation so that people can look at it and go, oh well, this person's shares my experience. This person's being welcomed and looked after. Perhaps I can follow them. I remember having a little row with someone a while ago. About an organization not including a single female on a large production team. I think there was like 30 on-screen talent members. I'm not talking about back-end stuff. There is that variety within esports. Obviously, esports isn't just the players. It's not just the on-camera talent. It's the analysts. It's the stats. It's the managers. It's all about
Production
marketing.
crews. And
Yeah, there's a huge as with traditional sports. There's a huge variety of roles that need to be filled, and there should be representation within all of those. So I do apologize. I'm just sort of singling out the on screen, but that is the bit that you see, and that's where the change, as we talked about the change from the top. I think that forward facing changes needs to happen. I rambled a bit there. I'll get to my point in a second. We had a brief argument about, or disagreement about, there was like 30 on-screen talent members and not a single woman included amongst them. And I fired off at two women that were like, any one of these women would have been suitable, even just one. And that person said, well, wouldn't that just be a token gesture? And I said, a token gesture is still a gesture. It's not ideal, but it's a starting point. To say, well, we haven't got any, so we shouldn't have one, is such a reductive argument. Have someone. Someone needs to be the first step. Someone needs to put themselves out there so that other people feel comfortable. And that is terrifying for that person that puts themselves out there. But they are the bravest person in the room for doing it. And I want to say thank you for coming on, because you've been very brave by putting yourself forward as an ambassador. And more people need to follow your example. So, if nothing else, join the community to support Roxy.
Yeah,
I got my point
if
eventually. I got
if you're
there
a woman,
eventually.
please join the women's chat so we can have a good chat on there, because it is a little quiet at the moment, and I do really want to build up the women, particularly the women's community. So come and have a chat with me.
Fantastic. Excellent. Do we have anything else? I don't think there are any giveaways to announce this week. If there are, I do apologize. I'm an idiot.
I actually have a story that I can't remember where I heard it. I think it was on one of the podcasts I watched or something. But it's about like the League of Legends scene, and about how there was one women's team, but for the rest of it, there hasn't been many women pro gamers, right? And they were talking about hiring one woman for this team, and the reason why they didn't go through with it was because when they play as a team, they have them they share houses and all the stuff and everything else. And they said that the reason why they didn't hire this player who was popping off was because they said the other teammates would feel uncomfortable to live with, and that is why they did not hire them in the end. It's not just about talent; it's there's the stuff that goes alongside it. There's not just you have to be good enough in esports. There's the extra step that people forget about.
Absolutely. And that's where we say about inclusivity being key. I mean, that's unacceptable. You know what I mean? Like I'm good enough, but I'm still not good enough. That's not
How much
the way
better do you have to be to overcome those things? Yeah, that just really put it in my mind. Like the difference.
Yeah, and the irony in that sort of statement as well, of the rest of them would feel uncomfortable. I'm sure this person wouldn't feel comfortable. They still want to go. They still want a chance. Give it to them. So, yeah, there we go. Fantastic. But there are plenty of positives we can take from the community as well. And I think it is important to highlight those. The wonderful things that people are doing within the community and the space, like your ambassadorship, Peachy's streams recently with the charity stream and things like that. Wonderful stuff that we need to point out. In some ways, we should point out more and shout about more than the negative stuff, because I think that positivity will breed change just as effectively. Maybe I'm naive, maybe, but I like to think the world is like that. Good things come to good people. That's my attitude. So yeah, it's been a wonderful show. It's been wonderful having you on, Roxy, and we will have you back soon. I want to get more people on. You're actually, I believe, the first woman that we've had on since I've taken over, anyway. Since I've been host of the show. Unless I'm forgetting. No, you are. And you're not going to be the last. This is the first of many.
I was going to say, I better not be the last. I hope I'm not. And I hope before the next time I'm on that there's multiple women. I hope I'm not the next woman. I hope I'm
No,
not
there's
the
going to be.
third next woman. I hope.
Well, I mean, you might be the next, because I think you might replace Giz. I'm getting a bit sick of his shit, to be honest, there.
It's fair enough, honestly, at this point.
Fantastic. But it's not just the online space. I hope to see you guys at the next Esports Wales meetup, whenever that may be. Because it was a lot of fun. I know Peachy and Flynn were there at the last one. We played some more Exploding Kittens, and I still didn't bloody win. But there we go. What have we
You've
got
been practicing every night, haven't you?
I
You've been sat at home.
I sat there, and I'm not going to lie to you, Rox. I said the words out loud. Roxy showed me how to play this game last time, and then I lost 3 games in a row. I was livid. So, what have we got coming up next week, Giz? Tell us what's coming up next week.
Well, I know that the league team do have their first game in the playoffs on Thursday. It's against, I think with that, let me just look it up. Prime. Yeah, we'll just go with Prime. I can't pronounce the second word, so we'll just say Prime. I'll probably be cast. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'll be casting that. I think on Thursday. I think it will be with Mr. Tokisaki, so that'd be good. And I've just done some really good production stuff behind the scenes, getting some broadcasting techniques in there. So that should be really good to watch. And
that's
my broadcasting stuff,
League, right?
Valorant League, yeah. And this is for them to get through to the finals. So very good. And if I mess up the production, I'm sorry. So maybe you just want to come for that little bit of a laugh.
So if you do want to come and laugh at Gizmo, it's 7 p.m. this Thursday, the 24th of March.
Yeah, and we also have the Rocket League Proving Grounds at the same time on Thursday as well. That's a great chance to get involved with the community, so feel free to come along to that. And we have the start of the Welsh Masters CSGO on Saturday the 26th. I mean, that should just be a great show, and I know that CSGO team have had some good showings across many tournaments, so it'd be good to watch. I'm going to assume that's streamed as well.
Yes, I would have thought so.
I don't have time for that.
I don't know the start time for that. We'll find out. We'll post it on Twitter. It'll be on
Twitter, yeah.
Just follow us on the Bird app. Speaking of which, where can people follow you, Rox, and get involved?
Yeah, so people can follow me mainly on Twitter. So Roxy Bain. I am on Twitch. I haven't streamed for quite a while. I am hoping to get back into it, but yeah. So Twitch, also Roxy Bain. Yeah, they're the 2 main places that I am.
Fantastic. I have got you on the old Twitter there, and I will have to follow next time you go live. You let us know, and I'll be there in the stream. I know it's always difficult to find time to stream. It's just when is there time in the day? But yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being here with us and helping us explain things. I'm sure you've done a much better job than I did. And we look forward to having you back on in a couple of weeks, couple of months, and we'll see where we are. I'm hoping what we'll say next time is, yeah, the membership has exploded. We've set up all these teams. That's the plan. That's what we're trying to do. At some point we'll get there. Thank you very much for joining us, chat. Thank you for listening to my rambling. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this quite important topic. If you do have any comments, please leave them in the YouTube comments or join the Esports Wales Discord, where we're always available for a chat. Now, I normally do the weather at the end, but it's dark and cold. But
Dark's not weather.
Especially with my window.
I was going to say we can see. I don't have a window. Has anyone experienced any weird weather phenomenons, or is it all just normal? Is everything okay? Weather forecast.
It's going to be sunny. I think that's the weirdest.
The weirdest thing is it's summer for 3 days, and then it's going to be cold and wet and windy again. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. I'm going to do a freeze frame to end the show. Everyone, and ready, freeze frame.